Wealth is not just a matter of money, it's a philosophy, habits, and a long-term vision. Poverty is rarely just a money problem, it's a mindset wrapped in habits, reinforced by years of excuses. You can take everything away from a rich thinker, and they will find a way to get it all back. But give a fortune to a poor thinker, and it will vanish like smoke on a windy day. Why? Because money doesn't stay where it's not respected, and poverty doesn't leave places where it feels at home. The good news? What is learned can be unlearned. What is broken can be rebuilt. You see, the great tragedy is not that people start poor. That's how most of us begin. The tragedy is when they stay there, generation after generation, because no one ever taught them that the first currency is not the euro, but discipline. The second is awareness, and the third is responsibility. Don't misunderstand me. There are real obstacles in the world, but there's one thing worse than having obstacles: blaming them. The moment you let someone else's decision determine your destiny, you've handed over the keys to your future. And that's why the cycle repeats. Today, I want to talk to you not only about why poor people stay poor, but how you can fix it. Not with magic, not with a miracle, but with a mindset, habits, and choices. Because poverty starts in the mind, manifests in your daily routine, and grows in the breeding ground of neglect. Fix the thinking, and the finances will follow. Vision, the foundation of wealth. Let me tell you something I learned long ago. If you don't have a vision for your life, I promise you that you're already living in someone else's. And most of the time, the people you end up working for had one. They wrote it, they built it, brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought. The great tragedy is that most people drift. They wake up each morning not to build, but to react. Not to move forward, but to survive. That's the silent poison of poverty. No plan, no picture, no path. Vision is not just seeing the future, it's creating it. It's looking 5 years, 10 years ahead and saying, this is who I will become. This is what I will earn. This is what I will give. And this is the life I will build. Most people never do that. They're too busy putting out daily fires to sit down and light a long-term flame. But if you want to become rich, truly rich, not just money in the bank, but freedom in your mind, you must design that life in advance. I remember being broke, not just financially, but mentally. My pockets were nearly empty, and so was my calendar. No goal, no direction. I worked all day, came home tired, and repeated the same thing every morning. Then someone asked me a question that changed everything. Where are you going? And I realized I didn't know. I had no plan, no target. That day, I sat down with a blank sheet and started writing my future. I asked myself, how do I want my life to look in 5 years? Not what someone else wanted for me, what I wanted. You must do the same. Take out a sheet of paper. Write your 5-year wealth vision. How much do you want to earn? Be specific. Don't write more money. That's vague, and the brain doesn't follow vague. Write, I want to earn 150,000 euros per year through my business. Or, I want to have 50,000 euros in investments. Add a giving goal, because generosity is also part of wealth. Rich people think about impact, not just income. Then extend that vision to 10 years. Imagine your house, your freedom, your family vacations, your investments, the charitable organizations you support. You must see it so clearly that your mind begins to process it as if it were already real. That's how the subconscious works. When you paint a vivid picture, it starts making decisions that align with that picture. This isn't magic, it's psychology, it's strategy. Understand this. Poor people live day to day. They ask, how can I get through this day? Rich people live according to a plan. They ask, how can I build tomorrow? And it starts with vision. That's the foundation. No skyscraper was built by accident. Someone sat down with a plan and worked on it for every floor, every beam, every detail. Your life should be no different. If you leave it to chance, you're choosing mediocrity by default. Your journey to wealth doesn't start with money. It starts with imagination. So first rule, take responsibility for designing your future. Don't leave it to the economy, your boss, or your past. Take the pen. Create a 5-year plan. Create a 10-year plan. Revisit it every month. This vision becomes your compass. And once you start walking in the direction of your dreams with clarity and determination, life begins to align in your favor. That's the beginning of building true wealth. Having it before having it. Financial discipline. Living below your means. Most people don't go broke because they don't earn enough. They go broke because they spend more than they earn. And I'll tell you something I've learned over the years. Earning money is only half the equation. Keeping it, growing it, and using it wisely, that's where the difference lies. The tragedy is that so many people are trapped in wanting to appear rich before actually becoming rich. They spend money they don't have to impress people they don't even know, then wonder why their bank account looks like a leaky bucket. Let's be honest, overspending is a silent killer. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It manifests in small things, a forgotten streaming subscription, that third coffee of the day, eating out 5 times a week instead of once. None of these things seem deadly on their own, but they bleed you over time. Financial death doesn't always come with a bang. It comes drop by drop, month after month, year after year. And then, suddenly, you're broke, tired, and wondering where all the money went. It didn't disappear, it leaked. Let me share a simple philosophy that changed everything for me. Live on 70% of what you earn. Just 70%. That's the magic number. The remaining 30%, distribute it wisely. Save 10%, invest 10%, and give 10%. Yes, give, because generosity shapes your heart, and a generous heart makes better financial decisions. I've never met a stingy person with lasting wealth. Wealth without purpose becomes a burden, not a blessing. When I started practicing this rule, I wasn't earning much, and believe me, it was hard. But I tracked every euro. I created a basic budget, nothing fancy, just a simple sheet where every expense had a name and a place. My notebook became my plan. I didn't guess where my money was going, I told it where to go. I watched my income like a hawk and plugged every hole. You'd be amazed at the freedom that comes when you know where your money sleeps at night. A budget is not about restriction, it's about intention. It's not about saying no to everything, but saying yes to the right things. And here's what I know. When you stop letting money control you and start telling it what to do, you move from surviving to building. Most people don't have a money problem, they have a decision-making problem. They're not broke, they lack discipline. And let me tell you, if you can't manage 1,000 euros, you won't manage 10,000 euros. And if you can't manage 10,000 euros, you'll blow through 100,000 euros faster than you can blink. Wealth amplifies your habits. If your spending is out of control now, more money won't solve the problem. It will only accelerate the damage. That's why the 70-10-10-10 rule is a wealth-building system disguised as simplicity. So here's the fix. Track every euro. Create a plan for every paycheck. Spend with intention, not under pressure. If you're constantly playing catch-up, you're building your financial life on sand. Build it on a foundation of margin and mindfulness. Build it with a plan. Live below your means, increase the gap, invest the difference. Money doesn't disappear, it leaks, and you're the one holding the bucket. Fix it and watch your wealth begin to rise.
Continuous learning, your greatest investment. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make, especially those caught in a cycle of financial hardship, is that they stop learning as soon as they leave school, as if a diploma somehow marked the end of growth. But let me ask you, has your income ever exceeded your personal development? For most people, the answer is no, because income doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows in proportion to who you become. That's a truth too many people ignore. They think, I have a job, I clock in, I clock out, and that should be enough. But jobs pay you for what you do. True wealth pays you for who you become, and who you become is shaped by what you constantly learn. When I started, I wasn't just financially broke, I was mentally broke. I had limited ideas, restricted thinking, and almost no exposure to true wealth principles. The job I had barely covered my bills. I'll never forget the day someone handed me a book on financial education and said, "Read this, it might change how you think." I was skeptical, but I read it anyway. And it was like opening a window in a dark room. I saw possibilities I didn't even know existed, and I realized something profound. Poor people stay poor, not because they lack money, but because they stop investing in the only asset that multiplies everything else, themselves. Let's get this straight. The most powerful investment you will ever make is not in real estate or the stock market. It's in your own mind. Books, seminars, online courses, mentorships, these are not luxuries, they're essentials. And they don't require you to be rich to start. All they require is an intention to grow. The moment I started feeding my mind, my bank account started catching up. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened steadily, because wealth follows wisdom, not wishes. And here's what I know. Your value in the marketplace will always reflect the value you place on your own development. You want to earn more? Become more. Learn to communicate better. Learn to sell. Learn to think critically. Learn to manage your time. Learn to lead. Learn to invest. I've seen janitors become entrepreneurs, factory workers become millionaires, not because they had a head start, but because they developed the skills, mindset, and habits of someone who could build and manage wealth. And you know what separates the rich from the poor in most cases? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's daily discipline, particularly the discipline of learning when no one is watching. Do you think rich people stop reading books once they've achieved success? No, they double down. They surround themselves with mentors. They attend seminars. They study. They ask questions. Because the moment you stop learning, you start shrinking. And you can't increase your income if your thinking is shrinking. The problem is that poor thinking says, I don't have time to read. Rich thinking says, I don't have time not to read. Poor thinking says, I already know enough. Rich thinking says, what else can I learn? It's a difference in posture. One is closed, the other is curious, and curiosity is the engine of growth. So if you want to become rich, not just financially, but rich in options, freedom, and peace, you must make personal development non-negotiable. Read 10 pages a day. Listen to podcasts while driving. Attend a seminar every quarter. Find someone who's 10 steps ahead of you and learn from their mistakes. Pay attention. Take notes. Ask better questions. Because the quality of your learning will always dictate the quality of your earnings. If your bank account is flat, the first place to check isn't your job, it's your growth curve. Are you becoming someone who's worth more? If not, start today. Feed your mind, develop your skills, elevate your thinking, and watch your wealth rise to meet the new version of you. Overcoming fear, taking calculated risks. Fear is one of the greatest thieves of opportunity, and when it comes to money, it steals more than euros. It robs people of the chance to grow, to expand, to rise beyond the limits they've silently accepted. You see, most people don't stay broke because they're lazy or incapable. They stay broke because they fear risk more than they desire success. They don't fear the pain of staying small. What they fear is the discomfort of change. And that fear becomes their ceiling. Let me tell you what I've learned. All growth requires a bit of risk. It requires stretching. It requires venturing into unknown territory. And yes, sometimes you'll fall flat. But here's the truth. Staying in your comfort zone guarantees one thing. You'll never exceed it. You can't tiptoe your way to rich life. At some point, you have to take a step that scares you. When I was first introduced to the world of personal development and investing, I was afraid. Afraid of losing money, afraid of looking foolish, afraid I wasn't smart enough to understand how it all worked. But I'll tell you what transformed that fear into fuel. I started small. That's the key. You don't have to risk all your peace. You just need to get in the game. I started by setting aside 10 euros, not to spend, not to waste, but to invest. Not even in stocks at first. I bought a book. That's right, my first real investment was in my own education. That small book opened my mind, and with each page I gained confidence. And confidence is the antidote to fear. It's funny, we live in a world where people will risk thousands on vacations or gadgets they'll forget in a year, but won't risk 100 euros on a course that could change their financial life. That's not logic. That's fear disguised as wisdom. And fear has a clever way of seeming rational. It tells you to wait, to be careful, to think it through. And those are good things until they become excuses that keep you still while life moves forward. You don't need to risk everything at once. Simply stretch 10% beyond what feels comfortable. Want to invest? Try a small diversified amount in something simple. Learn how it works. Want to start a business? Try selling something small online, even if it's just a service or an idea. Want to increase your income? Take a weekend course, develop a new skill, or offer to help someone for a small fee. It's not about the size of the action, it's about the habit of action. The more you act, the less fear controls you, because action builds competence, and competence builds confidence. You'll always feel the butterflies, but they won't be in charge anymore. Instead of freezing, you'll move. Instead of doubting, you'll do. And soon, you'll look back and realize that what once terrified you is now part of your routine. Wealth doesn't come to those who play it safe forever. It comes to those who learn to take calculated risks. Those who ask, "What's the upside if I try?" instead of only asking, "What could go wrong?" You must learn to bet on yourself, not recklessly, but regularly, because the biggest risk is never investing in your own potential. So start where you are. Stretch a little. Put 10 euros into your future. Test, try, learn. And above all, act, because fear diminishes when you move, and wealth grows when you do.
Your circle, the power of environment. Isn't it fascinating how you can almost predict someone's financial future simply by observing who they spend their time with? You don't need a crystal ball, you just need to listen to the conversations. Are they talking about opportunities, growth, ideas, investments? Or are they complaining about the economy, blaming the government, and peddling gossip about other people's lives? You see, you're not just shaped by what you read or what you learn. You're deeply shaped by what you let into your daily orbit. And if you're surrounded by the wrong people, people who pull down your ambition instead of elevating it, then it's no mystery why progress feels like trying to run with weights attached to your ankles. When I was younger, I spent far too much time in rooms where people had small dreams. And I don't mean small in value. I mean small in vision. They didn't want more because they didn't believe more was even possible. Their conversations were filled with limitations. They had a budget mentality, not an abundance mentality. They didn't invest in their minds, their skills, or their future.
They only invested in distraction. And what I learned is this: if you stay long enough, that mentality becomes yours by default. But everything started to change when I changed who I listened to. I remember attending my first seminar. It wasn't a big event, but the people in that room thought differently. They asked better questions. They weren't talking about how to save 50 euros. They were asking how to generate 500 euros more that month. They weren't debating cutting back on lattes. They were discussing how to build businesses, how to create value, how to invest in themselves and multiply their worth in the marketplace. And I'm telling you, just being in that room stretched me. That's when I realized something powerful. Your future doesn't just depend on your mindset. It depends on the mindset of the people you allowed to influence you. The wrong circle will make you believe success is about luck. The right circle will remind you that success is built. The wrong crowd will mock your dreams. The right crowd will challenge you to dream bigger. Sometimes the most expensive thing in your life isn't what you spend your money on. It's what your environment costs you in belief, ambition, and courage. You have to be honest about this. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? What do they value? What are they pursuing? What do they consider normal? Because you will almost always rise or fall to the level of your circle. Now, I understand that sometimes the people you love most are those who think smallest. And I'm not saying abandon your family or distance yourself from every friend, but I am saying this: limit their influence. You don't have to cut everyone off. You just have to make sure your inner circle is filled with people who speak in terms of growth, not lack. People who ask how, not just why. People who challenge you to rise, not stay stuck. One of the most powerful decisions I made was to join a mastermind group. It cost me money, it cost me comfort, but it paid me back in accountability, fresh ideas, new relationships, and a high standard of what was possible for me. Every conversation sharpened me. Every story inspired me. Every result became a mirror showing me what could be done. So if you're feeling stuck, check your circle. Audit your influences. And if you can't find people locally who think bigger, pick up a book. Mentorship can come from the pages of a great thinker. Connect to an online group. Listen to a podcast from someone who's 5 years ahead of you. You don't need perfect mentors. You just need better voices in your head. If you upgrade your environment, your life will begin to reflect that upgrade. Because when you surround yourself with wealth in mindset, you give yourself permission to grow toward wealth in reality. Multiple income streams, building financial resilience. Most people stop at the first income stream, and that's the trap. One paycheck, one source, one dependency. That might be enough to survive, but it's not how wealth is built. You see, if all your financial oxygen comes from one place, what happens when that stream dries up? You're not just broke, you're out of breath. And I'm not against jobs. A good job can be a wonderful starting point, but it should never be the final destination. The moment you rely on a single stream, you've put a ceiling on your potential and a lock on your financial freedom. Wealth isn't built on accumulation alone. It's built on multiplication, not by stacking more hours into the same paycheck, but by using your time and skills to open new revenue doors. You have more in you than one title or one role. You have hidden assets, your knowledge, your skills, your experience, your story. And the world pays generously for people who know how to package value and deliver it again and again in different forms. I remember working at my first job thinking that if I just worked harder, longer, faster, I'd break through. But I was still stuck in the single-stream mentality. It wasn't until someone asked me, "What else can you offer the market besides your hours?" that something clicked. I started teaching what I knew. I started creating materials. I started helping people solve problems. And slowly, those small efforts became side income, and that side income became businesses. Not overnight, but over time, because I refused to let a single paycheck be my only plan. So how do you start? You don't need a €1,000,000 idea. You just need to look at what you already know. Are you good with numbers? You can tutor. Do you have sales experience? Teach someone else how to sell. Do you know how to cook, write, organize, fix, coach, or encourage? Someone, somewhere, needs exactly that. The market doesn't pay you for effort. It pays you for solving problems. So the real question is, what problems are you solving outside of your job? Evenings and weekends become your secret weapons, not just for rest, but for reinvention. You don't need to quit your job to build another income stream. You just need to stop wasting your free hours. Instead of 3 hours of television, try 3 hours of creation. Write something, start something, offer something. The goal isn't to be busy. The goal is to be productive in more than one lane. You might say, "But I'm tired after work." I understand. But what's more exhausting? Working 40 years for an income that barely suffices, or pushing yourself for a few months to build a second stream that could free you from that routine? One sacrifices comfort for a moment, the other sacrifices freedom forever. And I'll tell you, once you see that second stream coming in, no matter how small, it changes your entire mentality. You stop feeling like a prisoner of the paycheck. You start feeling like a producer in the marketplace. And here's the beautiful part. When you multiply streams, you multiply resilience. One stream dries up, you have another flowing. One season slows down, you pivot, you adjust, you continue. Rich people don't count on luck, they count on systems. And one of those systems is multiple income streams flowing even while they sleep. So if you want to enter financial strength, don't just work harder, work smarter. Build something outside your job, multiply what you know, diversify how you earn, and never again allow a single paycheck to define your entire financial future.
Financial systems, the power of discipline. I've often said that discipline is the foundation of all success, and nowhere is that more true than in the realm of money. You can have big dreams, strong desires, even a significant income, but if you lack discipline, everything slips through your fingers. The problem isn't that people don't earn money, it's that they don't manage it. Impulsive spending, emotional purchases, forgetting where money went, these things aren't just bad habits, they're silent thieves. And these thieves don't take everything at once. They take bit by bit, day after day, until the day you look around and wonder where all the potential went. Financial discipline is not about deprivation, it's about direction. It's not about saying no to everything, it's about saying yes to the right things. Most people spend emotionally and save occasionally. Rich people do the opposite. They spend with intention and save with a plan. If you want to fix your finances, don't wait for more money. Build more structure, because without a system, even a fortune is wasted. But with a system, even a modest income begins to multiply. Let me tell you what made the difference for me. I decided to treat money with the same respect I treated my time. I established a rule: track every euro, not just the big ones, the small ones too. Because the way you handle €1 is the way you'll handle 10,000 euros. I established financial habits, just like gym habits or morning routines. Every Sunday night, I sat down with my journal, looked at what came in, what went out, and asked a simple question: did I get closer to my goals, or did I move away from them? You see, you don't drift toward wealth, you drift toward debt. Wealth requires steering, and steering requires a dashboard. That's why I started using whiteboards and simple trackers, not because it's sophisticated, but because it's visible. When your goals are on the wall, your behavior starts to align. It's hard to avoid.